Hello, I'm Steve Ardire, AI strategy advisor to MI10 and a force multiplier advisor to numerous AI startups, including my own Signal Action AI, which is operating contextual AI in mental health space. What are the most frustrating barriers for dissemination of AI in the healthcare system? There's a lot of hype and misinformation, and you don't learn AI, and if you're a global 2000 company in healthcare, or wanting to get into this space, it doesn't happen in 90 days. In fact, the state of AI in 2020, a McKinsey report, just 16% of companies have taken AI projects beyond pilot phase. Now that's a very small percentage, and what it points to is a number of issues here. Is that the solutions, the biggest one in my opinion, is the solutions to be developed in collaboration with the users to enable adoption, scale, and real value creation. So there's still a deficiency in that work. Let me move to another key issue, which is explainability. In the methodology, like in these, why only 16% of companies have taken it beyond piloting, is that there isn't any really well-defined business outcomes. So, in many cases, the analytics initiatives are fuzzy and really not, addressing or clearly addressing improving operational efficiency, higher brand value. The measurability is difficult in terms of interpreting the results. So it's sort of like, how do you really count? Was it just, how do you really count for the data-driven decisions that really move the needle? So this really dovetails with, the whole notion of providing measurability with credible clinical decision, support. And then the last topic in the technical, of course, is bias. I mean, it's still pervasive out there, and how it needs to be addressed is promoting data that accurately represents populations with standardization and quality that addresses both the explicit and, more important and more difficult to address, the implicit bias. So those are, some of the key areas in the technical bucket. Let me move on to human factors. The reason for some of the barriers here are there's multiple gatekeepers, and it really starts with the executive management, which really don't, they may have the title and position, but they really don't understand all the other, the technical factors like I just delineated there. And there's a lot of skepticism regarding, the non-invented here syndrome that will promote turf wars, hold back adoptions. Next in the human factors, I would say attitudes, right? So there's an interesting battle going on right now between the healthcare providers and more informed patients, the ones that are really doing the due diligence to become more informed. And I'm not just talking about, Google web searches, is actually being through the gristmill, and virtual care services have really promoted that. So what it's really setting up is the basis to where medical graduates and medical educations are not doing enough to train knowledge workers to build an AI competent physician workforce. And interesting enough, MI10 has a new client, cannot reveal who yet, that is exactly doing that, to embed AI into a new curriculum for a player, a US osteopathic hospital. So that's a good sign. So it's starting to be addressed there. And then the last item in the human factors, of course, is the role of company culture in embracing AI, where I talked earlier in the technical about this needs to be developing collaboration, not just a top-down initiative, but a bottom-up along with top-down. The next grouping is ethics, legal, regulatory. So there has to be better transparency with accountability. And you have to contextualize the transparency with trust, which means accepting, differential needs to address all the stakeholders. Of course, data privacy and security needs to be clear and informed, in the governance, and this will all help to promote trust and balance innovation with, better regulation and legislation. So in my last overall conclusions, I would say the use of AI and automation will cause a shift in skills in the workforce. So I think you're going to see more focus on augmented intelligence. So it's humans working with the machines, like we're starting to see, in a bigger fashion. The other corollary to that is AI could make healthcare fairer by helping us believe what patients say. Now you think about that, right? So rather than just doing what looking at your chart or your EMR, you can actually use other types of diagnostics, right, in the process of discovery to figure out what's going on. And the best use case to talk about here are bringing AI with the social determinants of health into focus. And I think the ramping up of investments is going to just intensify further and further and further. But the interesting observation from a recent study by Klaas has been, in addition to be the top factor for purchasing purchasing decisions is AI expertise, right? But the interesting thing is few organizations have settled on any one AI vendor as their go-forward choice. So most organizations still today use a hodgepodge of solutions to meet their needs. And that's where MI10 can come in as a physician-led AI strategy and education. We can help guide the roadmap out there, because it's very difficult to understand where to go to. One of the case in points, as far as this Klaas study, is you're seeing some suspect still with the bigger guys, AI with Amazon's AI technology, Microsoft. IBM still receives a lot, most of the considerations, but there's a lot of skepticism about the outcomes and the cost, and they really have had some difficulty in their execution with their healthcare group. So, so that also creates an opportunity for startups. So for AI capabilities, a lot of CIOs and CMOs prefer to work with startups to deliver better customer experiences, more agile product roadmaps, more responsive to the feedback, and that's a good thing. So I think going forward, it's going to be fun and interesting times. So thank you for this interview, and we'll be ready for the next one soon.